Attention, attention, do not panic. A pandemic is in effect. Do not panic. The apocalypse is in effect. Attention, attention, do not panic. Do not panic. The apocalypse is in effect.
Welcome to the Panpocalypse.
Hello, humans from planet Earth! Don't be afraid, we're in the Panpocalypse. So put on your dystopian attire like me and embrace the future! The past 6 months has been a hell of a roller coaster of a ride. Up till now, 2020 started with Australia and the Amazon being on fire, to the current pandemic, economic, and political uprising on tensions that are happening in the US, China, and other places. And let us not forget that we still got the global warming crisis on top of everything else. Like me, you're probably a little bit disoriented. And who would blame you? The current situation has left us in a sea of uncertainty. One thing that is certain is that the second wave is already coming, and it's coming fast. So you better be prepared. And as you saw, or as you can see, in past pandemics, the second wave was even deadlier than the first one. So we better be prepared. Full disclaimer here, I'm not a survivalist or a pandemic expert, but I'm using common sense. And there are some guidelines you can see on the internet. One thing you need to do, if you haven't done it already back in March, is to stock up on dry foods. Rice, beans, cans, dehydrated food. You gotta have enough for at least a couple of months. The other thing is to build a community. You must build your own community. Family, friends, neighbors, people you really, really trust. Only through strong communities can we survive this pandemic. After all, we survived the last ice age with communities. Don't give in to the panic exploited by the mainstream media. Of course, the pandemic is a real thing, but you can see they're kind of using it to keep us in a sort of fear state. And that's not a good thing. You gotta get rid of that. So inform yourself. Try to get out of your echo chamber and get different sources of information so you get the facts straight. We can also see in the horizon the looming economic disaster that's gonna happen, or at least reform. Due to the current situation, the old system is not gonna work. We need to reinvent a new system that'll take its place. And let us not forget that the food industry might also get hit. So we better think about that one. Although governments around the world are trying their best to cope with this pandemic, we know that sometimes, at least a lot of times, they don't have our best interests at heart. If they did, why didn't they do a widespread moratorium on bank loans and payments and rents due? Because people lost their jobs due to this pandemic and they didn't have money, and how would they pay their rent and stuff? It should have been a world organization where they would go against the banks, or at least try to make a deal with the big banks and saying, hey, look, nobody can pay now because nobody can work. You know, that would have been like the first priority that should have been in their minds. Financial help, community work. I mean, they could have done so much with that, but they sure didn't want to. They didn't. Do you think you're the first one who's going to get the vaccine once it's get here? I don't think so. I don't think that your grandma or your grandpa is going to be the first one getting the vaccine. I'm pretty sure it's the 1% who's going to get the vaccine first. If every nation would take like a quarter or a third of their military budget and invested for the protection and the ensured survival of their population, respectively to their countries and not, man, there wouldn't be any problem. But yeah, we're talking about a military industrial complex that sells bullets and war to around the world. I don't think it's gonna happen. They're not gonna cut their military budget. No country will cut their military budget like that, even if it's for the survival of their own people. In the end, we are co-creators in this universe, and change comes from the inside. Thank you.